When it comes to wide angle lenses, how wide is too wide? And what are the real benefits of using a super wide angle lens? Is it something you should try out for yourself and maybe add to your own camera bag? Well, in this video, I'm going to be testing out this super wide 9mm lens, seeing exactly what this type of lens is good for and if you should consider one for yourself. Let's jump in. What's cracking, my photography friends? I'm TKNORTH. Hope you're all doing well. This super duper wide angle lens is one from 7Artisans, and I've had heaps of fun testing it out here around Sydney. At 9mm, this is by far the widest lens I've ever used, and it really does give a unique point of view, opening up a range of different types of shots that normally I might not consider. Quick disclaimer out of the way, I was actually sent this lens basically to check out and provide feedback on, so not obligated to share anything. Ultimately, I always like all the photos to do the talking, so you can decide whether this lens is worth checking out for yourself. All right, as mentioned, this is 9mm lens at f5.6, designed for full frame cameras. I have the RF mount version here, but it also comes in E, Z, and L mounts, and it is manual focus. For me, this lens is really ideal for street or architectural type photography, and that's largely how I've been testing it out. Of course, a lens this wide can also be super useful for landscapes, especially for your astrophotography at night. Unfortunately, I haven't made it out of the city to capture some night skies, but I really look forward to trying it out for that as well. Price-wise, I believe this lens comes in somewhere between $400 to $500. One thing about the build quality, I was surprised as soon as I took it out of the box that it is quite solid. It's reasonably heavy for a small lens, and that is because it is mostly metal. So you've got quite a premium look and feel, unlike a lot of the third-party lenses out there. As mentioned, it is manual focus, but as you'll quickly find out, it is incredibly easy to make sure things are in focus when you're shooting so wide, even at f5.6. One thing to note here, if you're using this RF version, when you connect it to your camera, the aperture will not display on camera. So you'll just need to make sure you have this setting turned on in the menu and it won't affect you at all. Of course, aperture is controlled purely on the lens itself, and you can still shoot in aperture priority. Aperture, as mentioned, this lens opens up to f5.6 and closes all the way down to f22. The aperture ring on the lens clicks in nicely across all your apertures, so you can easily ensure you are on the desired aperture. As a full manual lens, this can only be changed via the lens itself. As mentioned, it also has a minimum focusing distance of 0.2 meters. I found the focusing ring on the lens itself quite easy to pull focus. It's reasonably firm, so you won't bump it, which is nice. And quite often I've left it there on infinity when shooting so wide. Next up, looking at the overall versatility of a lens like this. So shooting this wide really does give you a distinctive look. So I would say perhaps not the most versatile lens. However, it is such a unique look, it really does open up a lot of interesting perspectives. Really great for capturing this type of shot around the city. It would also be great if wanting to capture those vast night skies and stars. So having a lens this wide really does have its advantages. At 9mm, this gives you a crazy 132-degree field of view. To give you a bit of an idea, the widest lens a lot of people might have in their bag might open up to 16mm, which only gives you 107 degrees field of view. So quite a significant difference if you're using 9mm. I found so many of these look up and more architectural type shots here in Sydney that before, even at 15mm, I normally just wouldn't even consider or wouldn't even look for. So it really does open up a lot of new opportunities if you like these type of compositions. So overall, I've actually really had a lot of fun using this lens. Because I've never shot this wide before, it just opened up a lot of new compositions around Sydney, a city that I've kind of become a bit bored of shooting. Looking at size and weight, although this lens is quite small, it does weigh 463 grams, feeling extremely well built as mentioned and having this solid metal feel. Length is 86mm and width is 70mm, so you'll have no problem sliding this one into your camera bag. In terms of overall image quality, I'm not someone that goes super in depth when looking at lenses. I just want to know how it performs in the real world rather than pixel peeking at home. Ultimately, does the lens do the job that I want it to? So for this lens, the answer is definitely yes, with a couple of things to note. The one thing I was surprised about when using this lens right away is the lack of major distortion when shooting so wide. Of course, at 9mm you are getting some, but these images are already really usable without having to make any corrections. Overall, looking at the image quality, the results were quite impressive. Another nice surprise, shooting so wide like this, I was really expecting the image to fall away quite dramatically towards the edges. Although it may start to fall away a little bit, this lens actually does a really great job in terms of sharpness across the entire image. Overall, producing really sharp images across a range of different apertures. For this style of wide angle architectural photos, the results really do speak for themselves. The quality and unique style of view you can capture was quite impressive. I did notice some slight flaring with this lens, but it had to hit at a very specific angle. I only had this experience once and I merely had to move a couple of steps forward and it was gone. So it didn't actually really affect me at all when out and about using this lens. So overall, a pass in terms of image quality. In terms of finding focus, don't worry if you're not used to using a manual lens. Again, when you're shooting so wide, it's actually really easy to find focus on this lens. So I'm definitely not going to take any points away for this being a manual focus lens. Ultimately, if you are considering this lens, I think there are a few things to weigh up. If you are someone who really likes these type of wider compositions and you're going to get a lot of use out of this lens, I think it's definitely going to be worth it for you. You're getting high quality images and a lens that appears to be quite well built. Overall, making it pretty reasonable value at this price point. But if you are someone who's unlikely to use this type of shot very frequently, maybe it's not worth it for you. This focal length isn't the most versatile, although it is a fun one. I really did enjoy it, and if you have the budget for it, I can definitely recommend trying it out. For me, it's definitely going to make its way into my bag whenever visiting big cities or going anywhere where I might have the opportunity for astrophotography. So I hope this does answer the question whether a super wide angle lens like this is worth checking out for yourself. Thanks so much for watching and supporting the channel. Please do subscribe if you enjoyed this one. Keep on creating and keep on growing, my friends. I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.